Welcome to Knightline, the morning after, on ESPN 580 Orlando, WDBO. Night Nation's only call-in show goes live now.
All right, this is Andrew Phegley here, and this is Knightline the morning after, live from the Victory Casino Cruises.com studios, taking your calls, 844-225-5580 on the Dever team line, or your texts at 21232 on the Little Greek Fresh Grill text line, or AP_Knightline on Twitter. Joining me this week on Andrew and Friends is Ben Stout and Night Bingle and Chase Bunker in the other studio over there. How you guys doing?
Doing well.
Can't complain. It's a beautiful, beautiful day in downtown Orlando.
Well, okay. You're a little bit more enthusiastic than the rest of us are, I think. All right, so we got a lot of stuff to talk about today. First of all, we're going to talk, obviously, the Gasparilla Bowl was announced against Marshall, which I feel is a little bit interesting. It's December 23rd coming up. It's a Monday, yes, a Monday, at 2:30 in the afternoon, which is even weirder as far as I'm concerned. But that is what it is. Brandon Hellwig of UCFsports.com will join us in the second segment, and we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk about stuff that he does, recruiting, transfers. Jeff Lebby, offensive coordinator for UCF, switches to Ole Miss, hired by Lane Kiffin there. Not completely shocked about that, but I'm a little bummed about that because he's my guy. And who will play and who won't in the bowl game, that could be a little bit interesting to see. I've heard a couple things. You got the AAC report, of course. And then we're going to talk UCF basketball wins over Green Bay, 79-66 on Tuesday. Last Tuesday. It seems like forever at this point. But, Ben, why don't you start us off talking about that, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, this was another game against Green Bay that we had last game against NJIT, and we've got a few more like it before we start our conference play, where we are just a little bit more talented than the team that we're playing against, so we got to make sure we can stay disciplined. And I think they did that in the first half. Colin Smith got in a little bit of foul trouble in the first half, and so he didn't play much. But we had some guys step up. Frank Burtz came in off the bench, had 3 threes in the first half, and we popped it to about a 12-point lead. Then in the second half, we were able to extend it a little bit further, but then they had one guy from Green Bay. His name is escaping me right now. Maybe you remember that, Roger.
Davis.
Yeah, Davis for Green Bay. He started just completely getting on fire, and Green Bay wound up shooting 75% in the second half and cutting it to 5 with about 10 minutes left. We were able to come back after that and kind of pour it on. We wound up winning by 13 points, but it was an interesting game, a little bit back and forth, but eventually our talent and everything, our depth won out.
Definitely a tale of two halves, right?
Yeah.
The big thing you mentioned, the 74%, I mean, that was the only reason they were in the game, and that was Davis pretty much the whole time. The one concern I had in this game was the second half defense, right? So first half, they were held as 33% shooting or something like that. Second half, like you said, 74% is just ridiculous numbers. The big thing for me on that defensive effort was playing face-up defense, right? So in the first half, we stayed in front of them. We didn't let people get a step on us in the lane. The second half, I know we were trying to funnel to our help, but I'm a little concerned when we don't get in people's faces, we don't stop them, we let them get a step, and then they're driving to the hoop, especially in situations where we're up big. The opposing team's going to try to get fouls. So what are they going to do? They're going to drive the lane. So if we're allowing them to get a step, it's really hard to stop somebody when they're getting into the lane and they're driving the paint and they're going for fouls, because that'll stop time, it'll slow it down, and allows them free points and possession. So that was the one concern that came out of that. I hope we tighten that up. The one thing I'll say, and I've said it all along, I think we're one big away. So Colin is kind of going through a little bit like what Taco did, in the sense that he's learning how to be a 5 and how to deal with fouls when you're dealing with smaller people, because he's just so big. For him moving around, everything is exaggerated, especially when we're playing against smaller teams. So at the end of the day, who's that big going to be? I was really happy to see Matt Millen start to heat up a little bit. He's the local kid. He plays really energetic defense, and he's after it on the court. So if he can start hitting those threes consistently on the extra pass, I think we'll be in good shape for that.
Yeah, and he was actually the one that when they cut it to 5 in the second half, he was the one that stepped up and hit a huge three, and we really needed it in that moment. So that was big for Matt Millen, seeing him getting a little confidence.
Yeah, the other thing, too, was we were great in the glass. I mean, granted, we were playing against one of the worst offensive rebounding teams in the entire country. But at the end of the day, I mean, we killed them in the turnover department. We killed them on the glass. So when you're getting those second chance points, and then on top of that, you're not turning the ball over, and they are. That puts you in a situation to win for sure.
All righty. Well, basketball back in action today at 2 p.m. Is that at home or
Yeah,
away?
that's at home. Yep.
Against Sacred Heart. What do you know about Sacred Heart? Anything?
I don't know a ton about them except for the fact that they're a little bit of a higher scoring team that at least Dawkins concentrated on that in his midweek press availability. He talked about how they can score well, and we're going to have to lock up on defense. I see that as a very kind of a potential of the same type of team that we just played in Wisconsin Green Bay. They do play a little bit more inside out than Green Bay plays. One of their best players is their 4-5 guys. So it should be interesting. It's again another one in that stretch that we need to make sure that we don't overlook them and we stay disciplined and we take care of business against a team that we should beat.
Awesome. All right. Well, the ESPN matchup predictor has, and I love this thing. This is one.
Me too.
It just gives me a general feel of what's going on, and they have UCF with an 85.1 chance to win, so that leaves Sacred Heart with only 14.9, which, hey, if that's the way that it works out, awesome. So we need to keep it rolling, I think. I think this team needs to get these wins, and they've done very well. I mean, I'm shocked at how well they have done. But I do want to move on and talk about football.
Sure.
If we can, just because that's, still on a lot of the minds. It's still on my mind. We got a lot going on. It's recruiting day is coming up, early signing period, and things are getting a little bit weird for UCF. We have recruits that are decommitting. We have new recruits that are committing. We have all kinds of stuff. But first things first, we have this Gasparilla Bowl coming up. What are your thoughts, either one of you, on, let's start with you, Ben. What are your thoughts on this Gasparilla Bowl against Marshall?
Well, I think it's interesting for older alumni like us, I guess, that Marshall was a huge rival for us when we were in the MAC days and the Conference USA days. So we had some great games with them.
Some very exciting things happened in those games as well. I mean,
Absolutely.
like goalpost disappearing,
yeah.
And
For sure.
That's one of the things that I really wanted to ask you about, because somebody asked me to ask you about that on Twitter or something like that. By the way, you can call us 844-225-5580, 844-225-5580, or you can text us 21232. But back to that real quick. Mm-hmm. You were there. You were in the middle of it. With the whole goalpost removal thing back at the Citrus Bowl in the day. Just tell us about how that whole thing happened and everything.
I remember I was there at the Citrus Bowl with a lot of my teammates, Troy Lindbeck and a few others, and I remember Troy turning to me at halftime when we were up by, I think, 2 touchdowns, which is being up by any amount of points was very foreign to us at that point in football. He turned to me at halftime and he's like, should we leave? Like, I feel like we were going to win this game already. It's already at hand. And I was like, heck no, we're going to be here to the end. And so when that, as the clock was coming down in the fourth quarter, it looked like a lot of people were clamoring to get on the field. And a lot of us did. We all jumped on the field, and I was part of that. I was part of that scrum, and a couple of people started climbing up on the goalpost and trying to tear it down, and I was underneath it at the time, and so we started once it did come down. A lot of us picked it up, and I felt like I had the entire weight of the goalpost on my shoulders because I was being the highest point of anybody out there. And so we carried it down to the other end of the field. And I remember once we got there, a lot of us kind of stopped and we said, well, what do we do now? And somebody yells, well, let's take it back. And so we took it back towards the other end of the field.
I mean, there's rumors of what happened with this thing, and I heard that it went in the lake that's right there.
The reflection pond, there was a part of it.
Got to campus somehow, and I don't know if that necessarily ever happened.
Yeah, well, you got to think this is pre-social media days, right? So it was a lot of urban legends that happened around what happened with the goalpost. I'm pretty sure nothing happened with the goalpost, but there was certainly a lot going that night and on to the next day. A lot of the legends and rumors started to grow of it wound up in the reflection pond and the construction crew had to get it out and all that.
Yeah, there's a story that Greek Row made sure that at least a piece of it was in the reflection pond, and there was a party held in there.
All right, well, so that dispels the rumor that the entire thing got transported there magically somehow and all that stuff. But yes, what a rivalry that it was. And even me coming in kind of late to UCF in 2010, that rivalry was still, pretty good. And I remember the monsoon game. That was one of my experiences with Marshall, and that was crazy.
Yeah, that
game was just nuts just because of the weather. So it was cool, though. And I just remember that there was quite a rivalry going there at that time. So this game kind of has, there was kind of a collective sigh when we found out the opponent in the bowl game and all that stuff, because we were even talking on here last week about, we could play Florida State or we could play Pittsburgh or something like that. I don't think this is necessarily a bad opponent. I think it's a good opponent. I mean, it's not a Power 5, quote unquote, team, but it's still a quality opponent.
Yeah, and if you look at it from that perspective too, they've won I think like 7 out of their last 8 games, so they're coming on strong now towards the end of the season. So, I wouldn't overlook this team quite so much as I think a lot of people are, just simply because they're playing well. Remember, a lot of these recruits, too, I think they had something like 30 Florida kids on there. So, we're getting the 3 and a few 4 stars here and there. But some of these guys now, these are the 2-star guys that didn't make it to UCF. I mean, Quadri Jones had an offer to go to Marshall, and he ended up choosing preferred walk-on status for us, which says more about where we are today than where they are. But that being said, this is not an easy team. They're playing well. They're coming in with a head of steam, and they actually want to win. It's kind of like it's one of those things where we're the big dog, they're the underdog, and they want to win.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we absolutely can't go into the Peach Bowl a couple years ago and beat a team like Auburn and listen to all the SEC excuses that they weren't motivated in that game and blah, blah, blah. And then we can't go into this game and just all of a sudden use that as an excuse either. I mean, we're favored by 17.5 points against this team. I'm pretty sure we were favored by 17.5 going into the Tulsa game as well. So we cannot overlook these guys. We need to close out and win this bowl game for the seniors and for the guys leaving and really finish out this season strong.
Yeah, and the ESPN matchup predictor says 83% chance for us to win this game. So we should win this game.
Absolutely.
We should take care of them easy. I don't think that that's necessarily going to be a problem. Chase, you got anything to add to this?
I mean, does the bowl committee, the bowl selection committee, not like making money? I feel like this was all perfectly set up to have an in-state rivalry game. The bowl committee is essentially that oblivious husband where the wife's like, oh, hey, I want this dress for Christmas. Oh, look, this dress for Christmas is on sale. I want this. And what does the husband get? An exercise bike.
Listen, the ACC, Florida State, and UM wanted none of that. I can tell you that with 100% certainty. And if you don't think that they have some sway with the bowl committee and who goes where, I guarantee you that is not the case.
But, I mean, they're going to get a bad opponent regardless. At least get an in-state opponent to where you're getting money, at least getting marketing at some point. Because, other than, UCF and Marshall fans, who's going to actually watch the Gasparilla Bowl? At least with it being an in-state rivalry, you have at least the market of an in-state rivalry. Like now you just have like what? Marshall.
I think the thinking behind it honestly was just to make it an easy drivable game once the Military Bowl was out, because we weren't going to play UNC again. So
all right, hey, we're going to take a little bit of break. When we come back, we're going to have Brandon Helwig from UCFsports.com. Once again, this is Knightline the morning after. I'm Andrew Phegley, and we will talk to you right after this little break.
It's another NFL triple-header Sunday on ESPN 580. First at 1 p.m., the Miami Dolphins travel back to New York to battle the Giants. And at 4:30, the Dallas Cowboys look to stay on top of the NFC East as they play the LA Rams. And at 7:30 p.m., the Buffalo Bills and the Pittsburgh Steelers fight for their playoff lives on Sunday Night Football. Another triple-header Sunday is on ESPN 580 and FM 96.5 HD2. Football lives here.
Football playoff races are heating up, and you can follow all the action at betonline.net. It's all about the playoffs and draft picks this week, and betonline.net is there for you during all the late season drama. Week 15 in the pros features co-divisional leaders Houston and Tennessee, and a wild card battle between Buffalo and Pittsburgh. Before the next kickoff, head over to betonline.net for the latest news, scores, and odds. Bring the game home with betonline.net.
It pays to shop early at International Diamond Center. Now through December 15th, you get IDC's amazing value price. Pay nothing down and take advantage of 5 years zero-interest financing on any purchase. Guys, that's permission to splurge this holiday season. Get her that $6,000 pair of diamond stud earrings and pay just $100 a month. Or that $10,000 three-stone ring for just $167 a month. Or if you're popping the question over the holidays, here's an amazing offer. Buy any designer engagement ring setting, including Tacori or Veragio, and IDC will give you 30% toward the purchase of your center diamond. At IDC, we're holding nothing back this holiday season. Biggest selection all year, year's best prices, and the year's most aggressive financing. How about a $4,000 eternity band for just $67 a month? You can do it. Plus, check our website daily, shopidc.com, for secret buys and flash sales on the most popular holiday gifts. But don't wait. These amazing offers are available now through Sunday the 15th at 6 p.m. International Diamond Center, where the real savings are. For Orlando location. Unapproved credit.
Spice up your company with homemade marketing services from Tasty Gravy Creative. Tasty Gravy serves up a menu of budget-friendly marketing, graphic design, and public relations services customized to your specific goals. Co-owned by a UCF graduate, Tasty Gravy can help refresh your brand, strengthen your online presence, or reinforce your company's message. Contact Tasty Gravy for help with your website, social media, marketing, advertising materials, and more. Visit tastygravy.com.
The average car or truck on the road today is 11 years old. Unfortunately, the average part on the average car or truck wasn't designed to last that long. So how do you keep your vehicle running after the warranty runs out? Budget You Pull It. Our self-service auto salvage yard has Winter Garden's largest selection of auto parts at the lowest prices. And with the holidays on the way, you won't overexert yourself or your wallet. Budget, the letter U, pullit.com. We also buy scrap metal in any quantity.
Island H2O Live, a new wave of water park.
Experience the next generation of fun at Island H2O Live. You choose the music, you choose the lighting, and you choose where to share your memorable moments at Florida's newest and most immersive water park.
Island H2O Live.
Now open in Kissimmee, located off US 192 and State Road 429 on Inspiration Boulevard.
Island H2O Live.
This holiday season, Shoot Straight will offer the biggest, best deals of the entire year. Save big on the Beretta 92 FS for $429, the Smith & Wesson Shield 9mm pistol for $279, and the Springfield XDS for $399. Shop Shoot Straight's holiday sale now through December 31st. Visit any Shoot Straight location for these amazing deals. Get more info at shoot-straight.com. Whether it's on AM 580, FM 96.5 HD2, Alexa, or Google Home, we are everywhere you hear audio. ESPN 580 Orlando, Orlando's home for the biggest events in sports.
And now, back to Knightline, the morning after, on ESPN 580 Orlando, WDBO. Call now at 844-225-5580 or text at 21232.
All right, we are back live from the VictoryCasinoCruises.com studio, home of the only legal sports book in Central Florida. This is Andrew Phegley, and this is Knightline the morning after. Joining me, Ben Stout, Knight Bingle, Chase Bunker. Also on the phone right now, we have Brandon Helwig, who is the leader of the Rivals site, UCFsports.com. Brandon, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, all kinds of crazy stuff going on in this offseason. This has been one of the more crazy off seasons that I think that we've had in quite a while. So just real quickly here, fill us in on what the biggest things that are happening is.
Yeah, it's still kind of something to get used to a little bit as far as the whole, UCF calendar in terms of, how it's laid out. Usually the season, the regular season would get over and then you'd have a bowl game, and that was pretty much all you pretty much were worried about in the month of December. Maybe there'd be a little bit of recruiting. Sometimes schools would have, a couple of visits or, maybe there'd be a couple of players that were looking to enroll in January. So there was activity there. But, the bulk of recruiting activity traditionally for years and years was in January because, National Signing Day was in, first Wednesday of February. But that's all kind of changed the past couple of years. Now there's the early signing day, and I'm not really sure how they envisioned it to work out, but it's really become, the primary, the main signing day. So I think last year the stat was, over 80% of the signees signed early. So this is kind of the major event. And so that's, as soon as the season was over with and UCF really was at a detriment. I don't know if that's the right way to put it. It's not a detriment when you're playing in the conference championship game, but from a recruiting standpoint, it kind of took away a week, in terms of, coaches being out to go out on the road, hosting official visits and whatnot. So that's kind of been, what the staff has been consumed with over the past couple weeks. It's been mainly on recruiting and hosting official visitors and making home visits with players. It's really been more so that than, preparing for, the upcoming, Gasparilla Bowl against Marshall. They've had a few practices. I know they had a couple practices this past week in terms of bowl prep. I don't think the entire coaching staff was present. I know they did have one yesterday on Saturday, and then obviously beginning on Monday, it'll be 100% focused on that bowl game with the actual signing day being this upcoming Wednesday.
Okay, well, we have the first coaching change as well on the coaching roster, which it was a shock and it wasn't a shock. I'm surprised it's taken this long, honestly, for this to happen, personally. I figured there would be somebody that would have gone, last season or whatever, but Jeff Lebby leaving was one of our biggest recruiting guys, especially on the offensive side of the ball. And I kind of worry about that a little bit.
Yeah, he wasn't that surprising. I mean, he got a lot of looks this past offseason. He interviewed, for the offensive coordinator job, ironically, at Ole Miss under the previous head coach there, Matt Luke, who got fired. He also interviewed at Tennessee as well. And so, it was one of those things that, he had the background from Baylor, and I think schools were kind of hesitant to hire him for a year or two. I know he coached at an NAIA school, Southeastern here in Florida. So obviously Heupel gave him an opportunity and had him, come here. He initially came here as quarterback coach, got the title of offensive coordinator this past year and did a really great job. I know that's a loss. I mean, obviously no one wants to lose, someone who's done a great job with the quarterbacks. It's not that surprising. Lane Kiffin's the new head coach at Ole Miss. UCF played FAU this past season. Lane Kiffin was very complimentary of UCF. If you remember that one story, of course, everyone remembers all the stories leading up to that Pitt game about, how great UCF looked and how they should be ranked higher. And one of those stories, I think from Pete Thamel, quoted Lane Kiffin extensively saying that UCF looked like just like an ACC or SEC team and looked really good. So I think, that's kind of what Kiffin has in mind. He wants to sort of bring, UCF's offense to his, new stop at Ole Miss. And, Kevin Smith, speaking of, he's not a UCF right now, but, former UCF running back great. Kevin Smith is also going to be part of that coaching staff at Ole Miss. So it'll be interesting to kind of see how that develops over the next couple of years.
Hey, Brandon, this is Ben Stout. You're just talking about Jeff Lebby and how he's not only a good developer of quarterbacks, but he's a good recruiter of quarterbacks as well. And so it seems like there's some good news, bad news situation on the recruiting front. Good news, potentially, Darryl Mack Jr. is going to stick around with us. Bad news, we've seen a little bit of a hesitation on Mike Wright's part. Could you maybe elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, and everyone, obviously saw the quarterback situation unfold this year, and anytime you've got a true freshman quarterback taking the job, Dylan Gabriel, and he really did a fantastic, freshman All-American, thrown for, will throw for 3,500 yards this season, and seeing, what happened there with, other young quarterbacks on the roster. So obviously the elephant in the room, I guess you could say, as the season went on, well, everyone sees that the transfer portal and quarterbacks leaving left and right at other programs. So everyone was kind of wondering, well, what's going to happen here at UCF? Well, we saw Quadri Jones, who I guess it was effectively third string this past season. He announced his intent to transfer, and he's going to leave the program. He initially came to UCF as a walk-on and earned a scholarship. I think they always kind of viewed him more scholarship-worthy type player. It just his height and everything else just didn't get the offers coming out of high school. But he's going to leave the program, and that kind of puts UCF in a bind in terms of quarterback depth. Real quick about Quadri, I know he has a lot of FCS interest. I believe he was visiting McNeese State this weekend. I'm not sure if that's, the only school he's considering, but I know he's got a lot of that kind of interest. So, best of luck to him and everything. But that kind of, that depth is dwindling at quarterback if he's leaving. The only scholarship quarterbacks, that are on the team right now that are left are obviously Dylan Gabriel and Darryl Mack. And so, there was a real concern. Well, what if Darryl Mack, wants to maybe – thinks he's not going to be able to get a starting job back or whatever and wants to, perhaps move on. So that was a real concern. And at the end of the day, we'll see what happens. But everything that I've heard, especially over the last couple of weeks, is that, Darryl does intend to come back. He's committed to coming back for what will be his redshirt junior season and competing with Dylan and on all that stuff. And, I'm not exactly sure what his academic track is. He should be on track to graduate from UCF sometime, in this next upcoming year. So, so if things don't work out or if he wants to maybe move on at that point, it'll be easier for him to do so. If he's already graduated, he can make a graduate transfer to another FBS school, or you never know. I mean, there's not much depth. All it takes is an ankle, a sprained ankle away, even if he doesn't reclaim the starting position, which I think, would be the expectation with Dylan playing so well. But he's only a sprained ankle away from starting again. So hopefully that is true and that is going to happen. I think that's the impression that everyone gets at this point. But you still need, even if you have just two quarterbacks, that's not enough. And, with Quadri moving on, I know that the staff was looking at bringing in two quarterbacks in this upcoming 2020 class, and they thought they had one of them, locked up, a guy named Mike Wright from the Atlanta area, Woodward Academy near College Park, Georgia. And he'd been committed, for pretty much a long time, the early part of the summer. He'd been, kind of one of the more, public or most vocal recruits on social media, on Twitter, like Mr. UCF and all that kind of stuff. And, they thought everything was fine there. And it kind of is trending that it looks like they're going to lose him here late. He got some offers here in the past week from Northwestern and Vanderbilt. He visited Northwestern this past midweek. He's at Vanderbilt right now. He was supposed to visit UCF this weekend. He's not. So all the signs I'm hearing is that he's going to flip most likely to Vanderbilt. So, I'm still kind of sketchy or not real clear about what happened. Obviously Vanderbilt, Northwestern are tremendous academic schools. It's kind of hard to turn down that kind of opportunity. Is it perhaps, maybe he thought he was okay, with riding the bench for a few years, but it's really tough recruiting quarterbacks when you got a freshman playing as well as Dylan has, and there's really not a realistic
and that's the big thing. Hey, we got to do a break here real quick. Please hang on during the break, and we'll have you on the next segment as well. This is Nightline the Morning After. We'll be right back.
Light Up UCF is celebrating 12 years of snowy nights and sparkling lights now through January 5th at Edition Financial Arena on the UCF campus. Check out the new light show powered by Duke Energy with more lights, more snow, and new music. Light Up UCF is a winter wonderland of fun. Enjoy ice skating, the ice slide, Ferris wheel, free movies, and an all-new carousel. Don't forget to take a photo with Santa in Barnes & Noble. Light Up UCF, celebrating 12 years of snowy nights and sparkling lights. For more info, visit lightupUCF.com.
Hey, this is Travis Dever, Kai's Real Estate, the Dever team, New Smyrna Beach. Your source for real estate and everything else New Smyrna Beach. Proud sponsor of Knightline and Knightline Postgame Live. Call me anytime at 386-690-1636. That's 386-690-1636. Let me show you my hometown, New Smyrna Beach, UCF's favorite beach. Go Knights and charge on.
International Diamond Center kicks off the holiday shopping season with some truly extraordinary offers for early shoppers. Now through December 15th, we're bringing back our most popular finance option ever, 5 years, zero interest financing. So you can buy that amazing Christmas gift, pay nothing down, and spread your payments over 5 years with zero interest. Get her that $5,000 diamond tennis bracelet, just $85 a month. Or that $7,000 diamond pendant or hoop earrings, just $117 a month. Can you say Merry Christmas, honey? Or if you're getting engaged over the holidays, listen to this. Buy any designer ring setting, including Tacori and Baraggio, and IDC will give you 30% toward the purchase of your center diamond. That's huge savings on the complete ring. And here's a hot tip. Check shopidc.com daily for secret buys and flash sales on virtually every product category in the store. But hurry, these offers end Sunday the 15th, so it pays to shop early at International Diamond Center, where the real savings are, on approved credit or Orlando locations.
Oviedo Brewing Company is the hottest microbrewery in Central Florida. Located 7 miles from UCF at the Oviedo Mall, this 8,800 square foot brewery just opened its doors 6 months ago and has already crafted 13 unique beer flavors and counting in their tap room. The tap room contains different styles of beverages, including ciders, wines, and craft sodas. Not only do they have amazing beers, they also have a full kitchen with gourmet pizzas, wings, and tacos. Oviedo Brewing has activities for each day of the week, such as Taco Tuesdays, Trivia Wednesdays, Pizza and Pint on Thursdays, plus live music on Friday and Saturday evening. But the best is Sunday brunch with unlimited beer mimosas. Need a spot for game day? Oviedo Brewing is just the place with their large TVs to catch all the live games. You also find Oviedo Brewing at UCF tailgating sampling beers. And OBC support for the Knights doesn't stop there. If you need a spot for UCF away games, come to Oviedo Brewing Company. You can get all the details on their Instagram or Facebook page. Follow them at Oviedo Brewing CO. Download the Untapped app, and you can find out what beers are on tap. The food menu is also available on their website, OviedoBrewingCO.com.
Whether it's on AM 580, FM 96.5 HD2, Alexa, or Google Home, we are everywhere you hear audio. ESPN 580 Orlando, Orlando's home for the biggest events in sports.
And now, back to Knightline, the morning after, on ESPN 580 Orlando, WDBO. Call now at 844-225-5580 or text at 21232.
All right, we are back live from the Victory Casino Cruises.com studio. I'm Andrew Phegley, and this is Knightline, the morning after. We were having a conversation with Brandon Helwig before the break there, and we're going to continue that. Joining me is Ben Stout, Night Bengal, Chase Bunker, and then Brandon Helwig on the phone. Brandon, you still there?
I'm here.
Awesome. Well, we had kind of started talking about the Mike Wright situation, and we kind of had to cut you off there to do a little commercial break there. So why don't you continue with kind of what's going on with that situation? He's a quarterback that was very committed, but then all of a sudden kind of let up on that a little bit.
This is kind of late breaking, developing late recruiting news. So I'm not entirely clear of 100% of the details. But as I said, with the quarterback depth situation, UCF definitely needed to sign, one player, potentially two. The commitment they did have, Mike Wright, it looks like he's going to flip to Vanderbilt maybe today. It's still early and he's still at Vanderbilt on his official visit. So I'm not entirely clear what has transpired. He had been committed to UCF for a while, but he just got these late offers this past week. So There is it looks like, as far as I know, I don't know if that happens. It doesn't look like UCF may not sign a quarterback next week, and that just will kind of leave them in the month of January, looking to see who's still left, which frankly probably won't be that many players. Like I said, usually 80%, if the stat continues, of the signed players sign early. So, they really need Daryl Mack to be committed to coming back, which I've heard that he is, but he's still got to have at least 3, if not 4, scholarship quarterbacks in your program at any given time. So that's the one area where UCF might find themselves in a recruiting bind next week.
So, Brandon, kind of talking about that a little bit more, right? So we've saw that UCF kind of suggested some of our more recent recruits kind of look elsewhere. We've saw some people drop off, and there's still a couple more that we may see. So that we were at around 17 recruits out of 22 that we could fill. That should take us down to around 15. Who's on the horizon that UCF is looking at to kind of backfill that? And then are we also looking at more the JUCO route to fill those, or are there other avenues and other people that we should be thinking about?
Yeah, there's a few, and you're right about that. There's a few players that, it's from my understanding, UCF has dropped, and I think there's 2 more that'll drop off the commitment list that, I'm not exactly sure what has transpired on these situations, but guys who are committed that they're not going to sign. Sometimes it's academic related. If they think that, there's a chance that they're not going to qualify, you're only allowed to sign a maximum of 25 players per year, and it doesn't matter if they qualify or not. So if you sign players that don't qualify, that counts as one of your spots. So a lot of times that has a lot to do with it. So I think there's a couple of players, from what I understand, that are not going to be signed that are on the current list. So if those guys leave, and if Mike Wright flips, that'll give UCF about 13 commitments. And that, as we know now, but I'm pretty confident they're going to add a bunch more here in the next few days. As far as potential targets, really the number one focus of the class was defensive back, and that's kind of the position UCF just says. They'll decide later on whether a corner, a safety, a nickel. There's pretty much everyone coming back will be a senior. Brandon Moore, if I don't think he'll be able to participate in spring practice with his injury, but he would be a senior. You got Richie Grant will be a senior. Antoine Collier will be a senior. So there's a lot of older guys there, and they need to kind of, rebuild or reload that area. So that's kind of really been a big focus in the recruiting class this year. Really, probably the biggest name, kind of still out there is Devontae Brown. I know he's been listed as a safety. I think UCF likes him as a corner. He's from South Florida area. He has a final 3 of UCF, Miami, and Pittsburgh, and he's going to be announcing his decision on Wednesday. I don't know what's going to happen, but usually those guys always go to Miami. If you're a guy that Miami really wants and you're from the South Florida area, usually Miami gets those. But I'm hearing a lot of positive UCF buzz, and I think Miami might think that they're not going to get him. So it'll be interesting to see. That's kind of a recruitment to watch here in the next few days. Speaking of University of Miami, there's another guy named Justin Hodges. He's a former Miami commitment. He cut ties with Miami a few months back, and he visited UCF last week, and he's going to make a signing day decision as well. I know he's already visited Washington State as well. All signs are looking good that he's going to sign with UCF. There's some other players. I know there's some offensive linemen that UCF is looking to get. There's a guy who's currently on campus right now. He's actually a native of Germany. His name is Paul Rubelt. He's a 6'10" guy. I'm still kind of researching, sort of his background and everything. I kind of had been aware of him since this past summer. He's been committed to Arizona State, and it's certainly the chatter this weekend is I think UCF feels like they have a good chance of flipping him from Arizona State. So that's one to look for. And another offensive lineman, this one from the junior college ranks, Sebastian Dolcine. He's been committed to Mississippi State. He originally signed with Kentucky. He's at a junior college in Mississippi, and I know UCF is trying to flip him as well. So your second part of your question about junior college players, yeah, I think they may end up taking a junior college offensive tackle, the one guy I just mentioned. There's still a chance they take a junior college corner as well. There's another JUCO corner, Razon Wright, visiting this weekend. It's just one of those situations where you might need some, older, experienced guys. I kind of mentioned the depth chart. You guys have got Tay Gowan, who, is going to be a senior as well, and you kind of need to build up that depth for next season and seasons to come. So I think that could be an area where you see some JUCO guys.
Hey, Brandon, Chase Bunker, you don't know me from anything. With the whole Jeff Levy situation, can you speculate who UCF might look at to possibly fill his position, and will they get a new position, or will they get that position filled by the Gasparilla Bowl?
I've been kind of wondering about that, just with all the recruiting stuff going on. It's kind of hard to take a complete deep dive into that. I would have to think that Heupel has to have someone on speed dial, or someone he knows has a pretty good chance of hiring, because, he went through this past offseason not knowing if Levy was going to take a job elsewhere or not. As far as any potential names of who that could be, I frankly don't know. It has to be someone that can coach quarterbacks and kind of handle that. I don't know if it necessarily has to be someone that you're going to say, hey, this is my offensive coordinator, because at the end of the day, I think everyone recognizes this is Josh Heupel's offense. He kind of is the offensive coordinator in his first season at UCF. There wasn't really technically anyone on staff that had the title of offensive coordinator. But that is a title that, you give to someone to, enhance their resume. I mean, there's a lot of positives for someone to come here. There's some situations where someone, offensive coordinator wants complete control of the offense, and that wouldn't be the case here, but you get the chance to, learn from Heupel, and you can see what it did for Jeff Levy. It got him a coordinator job in the SEC, which I'm sure is going to pay $800,000-900,000, if not $1 million a year. We don't know how much he's making, but I know he's going to double his salary. So, frankly, honestly, I don't know who that could be, and I think it's kind of sudden. I don't know if someone's going to be hired before the bowl game. I would tend to think it might be someone that's hired prior to January, though. But frankly, I really don't have any information on that at this time.
All right. Hey, Brandon, thank you so much, man, for joining us today. Really, really appreciate it. Tell everybody where they can read your stuff, and tell them about the website that you have, because you have a myriad of information. I mean, I don't know anybody else that covers UCF sports nearly the way that you do. I try, but I don't quite get there. I still rely on you for a lot of stuff, and I greatly appreciate what you've done for us as well, helping us out.
Yeah, well, thanks for the kind words. UCFsports.com is my website. It's part of the Rivals.com network, so UCF.Rivals.com as well. I'm on Twitter at UCF Sports, and so if anyone wants to check us out, we'd be glad to have you.
All righty, thank you, man. Really appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, guys, thanks for having me.
All righty, hey, Brandon Hellwig, the guy has so much information. It's hard to just have him on a couple segments of a show, but that's kind of the way that it works sometimes. So I really appreciate him. We all appreciate him, because we all are on that site, and it's got all kinds of information. And he helped us at Knightline with sound when we didn't have credentials and all kinds of stuff. So I owe a lot to Brandon Hellwig.
He's the encyclopedia of UCF football.
Absolutely.
You took the words right out of my mouth. That's what I was just going to call him. Yeah, absolutely.
He's been around for a long time. So anything that he said that made anybody feel any better about anything?
I wouldn't say better. Listen, what I got out of that was there's still a lot of moving pieces as we kind of move towards the 18th, which is the initial deadline.
And you got to remember, there's still a signing period later on as well. So this isn't it. There can always be people. And then we've seen in the last couple of years, they're always adding people as well, all the way up, through the spring and then into the summer as well. So
Sebastian Dolshine, he's one that I am excited about. He was the one who we recruited before. He was committed. He went to Kentucky, then came back to us. He's a big 4-star player, and he's someone I'm excited about hopefully flipping back to us. As far as cornerbacks are concerned, I feel like we're going to be in a good position there. We're one of a couple that they were talking about, or the scuttlebutt is that there'll be a couple that'll drop off there. I feel like we're in a good position there. the quarterback thing, that was the one that was so heart-wrenching, just simply because he was recruiting for us so heavily. So it's kind of like a little bit of a gut punch more than anything else. But then again, look at it this way. We have Mac. We still have our freshman phenom. McKenzie's waiting in the wings somewhere there. So I think we'll be good this year. Next year, if we don't sign anybody, then I'm a little more worried.
I still think that we're going to have a quarterback that signs in this class. The transfer portal is filled with them. There's more quarterbacks, I believe. I haven't counted, but I think there's more quarterbacks in there than anything else in the transfer portal. When I look at it, it just seems that it's loaded with quarterbacks. So I don't think that we're going to have an issue. Likely that quarterback won't see the field at all anyway. Knock on wood, literally. So, I'm not horribly worried about that. We'll talk more about this when we come back from the break. All right, this is Knightline the morning after on ESPN 580 Orlando.
It's another NFL triple header Sunday on ESPN 580. First at 1 p.m., the Miami Dolphins travel back to New York to battle the Giants. Then at 4:30, the Dallas Cowboys look to stay on top of the NFC East as they play the LA Rams. And at 7:30 p.m., the Buffalo Bills and the Pittsburgh Steelers fight for their playoff lives on Sunday Night Football. Another triple header Sunday is on ESPN 580 and FM 96.5 HD2. Football lives here.
It's the Greenway Dodge Big Finish event right now. $49 down, employee pricing plus now on 2020 models and 0% financing. Save up to $17,000 on new Ram trucks, up to 30% on new Dodge Challengers. GreenwayDodge.com. Feel the Greenway Dodge difference.
You've heard us talk about the great food at our good friend Kyle Israel's restaurant, The Little Greek Fresh Grill. The Little Greek now has franchises available. Please call 407-697-2272. That's 407-697-2272 to see what The Little Greek can do for you. Also, check out The Little Greek's newest location at 3131 Daniels Road, Suite 104, Winter Garden, Florida. The Little Greek Fresh Grill. Fresh, flavorful, fabulous.
The average car or truck on the road today is 11 years old. Unfortunately, the average part on the average car or truck wasn't designed to last that long. So how do you keep your vehicle running after the warranty runs out? Budget you pull it. Our self-service auto salvage yard has Winter Garden's largest selection of auto parts at the lowest prices. And with the holidays on the way, you won't overexert yourself or your wallet. Budget, the letter U, pullit.com. We also buy scrap metal in any quantity.
Every child in Central Florida deserves a toy at Christmas. But unfortunately, not every local family can provide that Christmas cheer. Hearts Helping Others of Central Florida is once again teaming with local businesses for their annual toy drive, and we need you. For years now, Hearts Helping Others of Central Florida has supported local Central Florida families in need with many programs, providing food, clothing, resources, and services. They do this regardless of the income bracket of the family, because every family could be just one paycheck away from financial disaster. During the holidays, things can be even worse for these families in need. For the next 2 weeks, you can drop off new unwrapped toys for ages newborn through 17 years old at one of our many drop-off locations. These include 5-Day Cabinets in Castleberry, O'Reilly Auto Parts in Apopka, Stefano's Restaurant in Winter Springs, Shovelhead Lounge in Longwood, and First Institute in College Park. The toy drive supports local families that may need a little help at this time of the year, and you, our Central Florida residents and local businesses, have a chance to provide the toys Hearts Helping Others will give away in its holiday support program this month. You can also donate financially through their website at heartshelpingotherscfl.com. Become a donor for the holidays or a monthly partner. Find us on Facebook or PayPal at heartshelpingothers7@gmail.com. Hearts Helping Others. We can't help everyone, but everyone can help someone.
Hey, it's the Gats. Join us Monday. We'll have the funniest thing from the sports weekend. Plus, I'll have my weekend observations. That's Monday on the Dan Le Batard Show with me, Gats, on ESPN 580 and ESPNOrlando.com.
And now, back to Knightline, the morning after, on ESPN 580 Orlando, WDBO. Call now at 844-225-5580 or text at 21232.
All right, back live from the VictoryCasinoCruises.com studio. This is Andrew Phegley, and this is Knightline the morning after. Ben Stout's in the studio. Night Bingle's in the studio. Chase Bunker's in the studio. There's all kinds of people. We were talking with Brandon Hellwig the last two segments. That guy has so much information. It's hard to get in a radio show that's only an hour. This show has just been filled. It's gone by so fast. We still have a few minutes here, obviously. We still have to talk about who will play and who won't, kind of. One of the biggest thing, I don't think Neville Clark is going to play, personally. I just don't see that happening. But it seems like Gabe Davis has kind of suggested that he will play, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, I think he just wants to have a final stamp, I guess, in his UCF career. I don't think any self-respecting Knight fan would necessarily fault him if he decided not to play and just start preparing for the draft right now. But
quite frankly, I would suggest to him that he do that.
Well, yeah. I think most people would. But
you're right. It would be different if Marshall had some sort of like spectacular cornerback that he could burn for one last time in college football. I wouldn't be surprised if he decides not to play. But if he does, obviously we're just praying that he stays healthy. But it would be great to see him just light it up one more time in a Ninth uniform.
All right, some other stuff that went along in the AAC this week. Let's get the AAC report here real quick from Jeff Allen, and then we'll be back.
Perry rushed for 304 yards and 2 touchdowns. Malcolm Perry rushed for 307 round over yards and 2 touchdowns. They gave Navy to a 31-7 round over Army. 4 rushing yards.
Actually, you know what? To avoid all this, here is the actual AAC scoreboard with our very own Jeff Allen.
Time now to take a look around the American. Malcolm Perry rushed for 304 yards and 2 touchdowns to lead Navy to a 31-7 rout over Army, breaking a 3-game losing streak to the Cadets. The 304 rushing yards are the most by any player in the 120-game history of the Army-Navy game and pushed his season total to 1,804 yards, a new single-season rushing record at Navy, and gives the midshipmen a 10-win season. A couple of nice out-of-conference victories in men's hoops. Number 13, Memphis rolled into Knoxville, and down number 19, Tennessee 51-47, snapping the Vols' 31-game home winning streak. The Tigers rallied from 12 down to lift their season record to 8-1. Wichita State moves to 9-1 as they downed Oklahoma 80-75. Eric Stevenson led the Shockers with 16. And in volleyball, Cincinnati came within 1 frame of reaching the tournament's final 8 teams on Friday night. Number 11 Penn State rallied to stop the Bearcats in 5 sets. Cincinnati ends the season 27-7 as unanimous AAC Player of the Year Jordan Thompson closed out her career with a match-high 30 digs. I'm Jeff Allen. We will cover all this and more, including another in our series of close-ups in men's basketball on this week's AAC Report only on the Knightline Sports Network.
Alrighty, live radio, folks, live radio. It's always exciting. You never know what's going to happen. It's just one of those things.
That's what makes it fun.
It's very, all of this radio stuff is very technical and all that stuff, and there's all kinds of buttons that have to be pushed correctly, and there's computers that play audio and all this stuff, and sometimes it just all does not work out properly. It's what happens. I think overall, though, this has been a great show. I think we talked about some stuff that we should have, and maybe didn't get to talk about some stuff that we should have. But overall, I think it was a good show.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree.
Again, live radio. Yeah.
Well, I will say this: the recruiting thing is always so much fun, right? Because there's always so much going on. It's almost like a soap opera every time, right? So it's kind of like going along for the ride. I look at it as entertainment. Don't get too twisted up in it. We've got great prospects. We got Creedle, who's coming in, excellent giant wide receiver, 6'4". We're going to lose some, we're going to win some, but at the end of the day, we're putting great teams out on the field, and the guys that we have coming in are bought in, and they're ready to play football for us. So don't get too caught up in it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to see the guys that are committed to UCF, and I'm looking forward to them coming in and them developing.
All right. Well, yeah, Chase, you got anything quick there?
I'm curious to see what's going to happen on the quarterback front in terms of recruiting, and I hope that with all these transfers, it doesn't look bad negatively on us.
All right. Awesome. All right. Well, it's pretty much time to wrap it up. So there's the music that lets us know that there's not much time left. So thank you very much for joining us and listening with us. Thanks for Brandon Hellwig. Thanks to all you guys for being here.